Welcome back to the 24th floor. After a grueling 6-game road trip that ended with 2 wins and 3 losses, the Grizzlies are back at home tonight, finally at FedEx Forum. They'll face the defending Western Conference champions, the Dallas Mavericks, at 7 p.m. The Grizzlies currently hold a 2.5-game lead over the Mavericks in the Southwest Division. This will be their second meeting of the season. The Grizzlies lost the first matchup in Dallas and will be seeking revenge tonight. The Mavs will be without stars Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, who have both been ruled out due to injuries. So a chance for the Grizz to kind of get back on track tonight, in my mind at least. You go on that road stretch, you lose. I would say some games they shouldn't have lost, right? I mean, you're looking at those last 2 games. I would have liked for them to get one of those and kind of come back with a winning record out of those 5, to have 3 wins, 2 losses instead of the other way around. But tonight, a chance against a depleted Dallas Mavericks team to kind of get back on the board. Obviously, the Grizzlies themselves also a bit depleted. 8 guys kind of still in and around that injury list. I think Luke Kennard is back to questionable tonight, which is a very rare update we ever get from the Grizzlies. Usually it's just the other 3, but he's back to questionable. Bain is still also doubtful, and then you got Yuki, I think the most probable to return tonight.
Yeah, we need a Yuki tonight, right?
Hey, maybe that's a sign that's going to be one of those games where they chuck Yuki in the end because they're off by so much.
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting because it's not like the Grizzlies are the only team that are dealing with injuries. The Warriors were without Gary Payton. The second, Steph Curry, and who was it as well? Looney and Pajemski, the other guard. I mean, and they were able to win. So the Grizzlies were without 8 players, but a lot of those players, Taylor Jenkins and the Grizzlies knew they were going to be out for extended periods of time, even if it was, something where you have a week to really game plan for this Warriors game. He knew what players were going to be out. And so I'm not really saying it's on him, but I'm saying that not by the organization, but there's been a lot of excuses thrown around on social media, and Sacramento did make a big deal about beating the Grizzlies. That's a rivalry there. Mm-hmm. For some reason, Malik Monk always gets up for that game. He had 31 in that one. He kind of has a little rivalry with Ja. And so Grizzly fans were kind of clowning them for, their whole thing is lighting the beam. Sacramento lights the beam. And, but you still beat the Grizzlies, and you still beat Jaren Jackson and Desmond Bane. Mm-hmm. I said it last week. The Grizzlies, after they lost to OKC, the Grizzlies are capable with Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson and a couple other pieces like Luke Kennard and Jake LaRavia of beating a lot of teams in this league, pretty much anybody. OKC right now, best team in the league. That's a tough one. But they still played them well. And then they go out and they beat the Suns. The Suns have been struggling. That's still a really good team, though. And then, it kind of pitters out against Sacramento and Golden State, 2 tough teams to play against, but both teams dealing with injuries. Sacramento not as much, but Golden State Golden State Twitter was going off about how resilient that Golden State team was last night. Playoff Wiggins, as we like to say, playoff Wiggins, All-Star Wiggins, All-Star Andrew Wiggins, who will be an All-Star. Rich is our producer. He doesn't believe in the Andrew Wiggins hype. I do. I think that was a little bit of a gut punch last night. I haven't really heard anyone say it. It's one NBA game in January, but coming back home, you want to come back with a little bit of confidence. And now you're sitting there, you don't have to play against Luka Doncic or Kyrie Irving, but you didn't have to play against Steph Curry the other night either, and you go out there and lose. Right,
but both those teams also aren't playing against Ja Morant, which is, you talk about Luka being the star for Dallas and Steph being the star for Golden State. Obviously, they have other pieces out as well. But, the Grizzlies are also out with Ja. So it's kind of levels that playing field out in my mind to an extent at least. But then you look at some other guys the Grizzlies are missing, and I think one of the key ones to me that has been out for the last couple of weeks is Santi Aldama.
Yeah.
I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, we're talking about him as 6th Man of the Year potential odds and how big of an impact he's playing, how much he's grown this offseason, this summer, going and playing with Spain in the Olympics. I mean, he was averaging 13 points, 7.3 rebounds, 3 assists. He's shooting over 50% from the floor, nearly 40% from three-point range. He's a guy that when he's on, he is having such an impact on that Grizzlies team this year. And he's pretty much on every game. And it's not just his scoring ability and what he's doing right there, but it's also the attitude that he brings. When he hits one of those threes, it feels like it pumps the entire Grizzlies organization up, and they kind of feed off his energy. And I think not having him on that team the last couple of weeks has been really tough. And you got to remember, they're on the road. 5 games on the road, that's a long period, a long stretch to be gone for. I expect them to come back tonight and really have an oomph about them. But one thing to me, an oomph. Oomph? Oomph?
Mm-hmm.
Oomph?
The whole organization?
The Grizzlies team tonight, whoever's on the floor. Oomph, oomph.
Oomph, I haven't heard that. I like that.
One of them, whatever, whichever one you want to go with. I expect them to be pretty big tonight and have a big impact on the game. The thing for me kind of moving forward that I want to see changed and cleaned up, and I've spoken about this before, but it played such a pivotal role in this road game stretch, is the turnovers once again. They're second worst in the league in turnovers, 17.4 per game they're averaging, and they're having a turnover on more than 16% of their possessions. That's just crazy. And obviously they have the most possessions out of anyone in the league, so you're seeing that turnover number just continuously go up. On the road in those 5 games, they're averaging 19 turnovers per game, which is above their season average. Never once did they have less than 17 turnovers in any of those 5 games. Obviously, they won 2 of those games, but they also lost 3. And the points that they were giving away off those turnovers, 25.4. You're just handing a team 25 points right there on average. Like, that's a lot of points just be giving away easily. And obviously, sometimes it's okay because they're also turning the ball over and you're also getting points off their turnovers and things are moving quickly. But for the most part, that's just way too many points to be giving away. And I think at the beginning of the season, we were giving them a lot of lax in it because we were saying, well, they're implementing this new offense. They're trying to get it adjusted to it, some new players and some new pieces moving in. So a lot of these turnovers are just them trying to figure things out. But now it feels like the turnovers are just careless. It's not necessarily another team, especially against Golden State, putting pressure on them. It's just Memphis turning the ball over carelessly and not holding on to it enough. And that's really killing their possessions. And against a team like Golden State, whether they be without Steph or not, and whether Memphis has who they have or don't have on the court, it's having an impact on the overall result of the game.
Yeah. I mean, they really struggled in that Golden State game as well. And Golden State, at the same time, Memphis don't have a lot to lose. Golden State got beat by 50. With Steph Curry in the lineup the last time that they played. And so they had a little bit more to play for. And Draymond and Andrew Wiggins were really on defensively last night. I thought they had 2 of their best defensive games that they've had this season, and that's really saying something. They've had a lot of great performances. Scottie Pippen Jr. has struggled a little bit, but I think overall the Grizzlies have the highest pace in the league. They have the most possessions overall. They have over 3,800 possessions, which is number 1 in the league. And so with more possessions, you're going to turn over the ball more. But the big thing is points off a turnover. So if you turn the ball over, get back down the court, hustle back down, which is difficult to do for 4 quarters. But I think that's why you're seeing it a little bit more. You're talking about Santi Aldama as well. Something that has been great for the Grizzlies over this road stretch that they haven't really been able to capitalize on except for the Suns game, and Luke Kennard was a big part of that that win against the Suns, is Luke Kennard's play on this road trip. He went 16 in the first game, or that was against OKC, and then 17-11 and was out versus Golden State. But Jake LaRavia stepped up and had 17. So they're getting some output, but at the same time, you're talking about Santi being big coming off the bench. There were games this season where even early on when Vince Williams Jr. was healthy, there were some other bench guys that were coming in and getting double digits. Right now, it's basically just one guy getting double digits off the bench. Santi Aldama coming back pretty much guarantees you a double-digit spread coming off of the bench, and you pair that with someone like Luke Kennard, who's really playing for his job right now. In a way, he's in a lot of trade rumors at the moment, and he wants to play well. The Grizzlies want him to play well. If they think that they want to trade him, they want to sell high on him, and Kennard wants to go to a right spot, and he doesn't want to average 10 minutes a game at his next place, and he shouldn't. And so maybe that factors in a little bit, and he's had a tough season, has been out injured, but he's been massive for them. And Luke Kennard takes care of the basketball as well, and that's something that they've always said about Luke Kennard, and Luke Kennard prides himself on, and so he was kind of their safety valve in these road games. But overall, kind of hard on him at the beginning, but you can kind of write off these road games as that's the NBA. That's the NBA Western Conference this year too, and you just move on to the next one and you rack up some wins at home and then look for the next road trip, hopefully with John Morant healthy.
Yeah, so the next one of those, obviously back at home tonight against the Dallas Mavericks.